Hey there, everyone. Welcome to A Slice of Life with Kellie and Jon. Today, our guest is Gina Cruse, and she is a business coach, leadership coach, coach. What's formal? What's your formal title, Gina?
Either executive or leadership coach.
Okay, executive or leadership coach. I like that. So we've talked to a few people who have done this coaching. So it's becoming more popular, and I always say it's much needed, whether they know it or not. It's very needed. So what got you interested in doing this, and how did you end up coming up with this idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love the work of coaching, and partly it's because I was greatly helped by someone at a point in my career where I really benefited from it. And I had a really, I think, amazing career in about 25 years in tech. And I found myself in kind of a lonely position within an executive team. I had a great team, but I was really at a place that I had not been in my career. And I had the best executive coach. And at that point, I decided to, maybe indulge myself. I don't know why I was holding out on doing this before, but when I asked him to come in and work with my team and I found that it was really great to just have a sounding board, that I just had a little space to explore my own thoughts and that I wasn't performing or showing like a face that I would to everyone around me. It was just really helped me a lot. So then when I stepped away from the corporate world, I went into mentoring and coaching. I took a certification course through Berkeley, and it just kind of really was transforming for me in my relationships as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, one change in mindset. And you mentioned, I was reading through your bio and everything that you do, a change in mindset. That's where it all begins, is just your perception of what your role is and what the role of the people around you are and the mission. Like, what are we trying to accomplish here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it takes some clarity to step away and sometimes give ourselves that space. There's just so much bombarding all of us, especially leaders today. They don't really have as much time to maybe form their ideas of what success look like or what they want to be, because they're delivering. Companies are really expecting more from managers and leaders than ever. They've got their own workload, they've got larger teams. A lot of times there's less managers. So the ones that are there have more work to do. They're trying to protect their teams from being burned out. So maybe they're spending a lot of energy managing upward or doing the work themselves. So it can be really hard to find the time to think about the habits that we have and that we form because we're busy reacting, which I've been there. So
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I, I,
Um,
I don't want to backtrack, but how long ago was it that you got out of the tech world and decided to go or started doing this professionally?
So it was about 6 years ago. I'm in my second career now. So I had over 25 years in high tech mainly. And I decided we sold the company I was working with then. It's a nice way to step away. And I got remarried that year and was blending a family. And I decided to take some time off. And so did some mentoring because I really enjoyed the aspect of that aspect of my work. And so then I found myself going to a program at Berkeley, and that was in 2020. And I learned at Berkeley in the coaching program that I was really a bad listener. So that's what really transformed my second career, which is really understanding that I was just listening with all these active muscles to try to solve problems, not only in work, but in people around me, my friends, my family. I was listening and paying attention, but I was inside trying to think of, okay, what do they need? How can I help them? How can I solve this problem? Because I had overdeveloped that muscle in all of my years of work. So that's when I said that the coaching institute really transformed me. That's really what I meant, is I was able to step away from that reactive response and just learn how much of that had gotten ingrained, during my corporate time.
You were up in, if I'm not mistaken, up in the San Francisco area?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and so I would like to think a lot of your mentoring now is involved in I don't even know if it's still called Silicon Valley. I have no idea what it's called now. It's that seems to be an old title. for that area. I remember when it became Silicon Valley. But now after 30 or 40 years, but you're tied in, I'm sure you're tied in with a lot of the people involved in those companies there.
Yes, I mean it's the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, a beautiful part of California. So yeah, I've worked with a lot of great people here, a lot of tech industry, different parts of tech. But since I've stepped away from the corporate role, I've been able to work with a lot of different professions, people in nonprofit, teachers, and I've really have leaned into that because I've enjoyed that type of work. But a lot of my work is Zoom, like everybody else's. I meet a lot of people and connect with them, just like
Hmm.
we're talking now
Yeah.
through Zoom. So still have a lot of global connections.
Awesome. What do you think's the biggest challenge that people come to you with? Like when they're, say somebody, an executive comes to you and says, I don't know, something's missing. Or do they not know until you work with them?
Well, I think most people come, they know they're stuck for some reason. And they think maybe that they know what it is, but they want to get to the next step. So a lot of times, usually it's people that are in some type of transition. Maybe they're transitioning even from one career to a different one, or they're transitioning from one role into another role. And they're just wanting to have somebody to help them as a thought partner and think about how can I adopt new skills and ways of doing this, and challenge some of my beliefs and my mindset, going into this in a way that's safe and constructive and helps me like try on some new skills. So that's the work that I enjoy. And that's really typically where people come in. It's usually not when people think things are fine. It's usually where there's some kind of growth and there's some pressure and there's like, I need to try something new. Some of the old ways I've been dealing with this don't really work anymore. I'm really not sure if I can do this myself. I'd like somebody to help me step in and partner with me side by side. And that's where they come to talk with me.
So what's the process then? How do you, like they find you and they say, I need help, then what's the process from there? Are you just meeting them with Zoom calls and they're reporting to you weekly or something?
Well, we usually will meet weekly or every other week, but what I like to do is understand some of their goals, like where are they stuck, what do they see, what have they tried. It's an active partnership, so understanding expectations coming in. And I like to use, some type of assessment to help them get clarity on maybe some things that they see, but some things that maybe they don't see.
Hmm.
And, that sounds a little bit a little broad, but there's a couple of ways to do that. One of the ways that I really enjoy is using the positive intelligence program that was developed and tested in Stanford by Shirzad Chamine. And that is a program that really helps us understand some of the ways we can sabotage ourselves by overusing some of our strengths. And that's something that I've used and benefited from, and that a lot of my clients have used and really found to be transformative. That's one example. Or it could be some kind of a leadership 360 to get some more input on other, ways people are being experienced. So it starts off with some kind of clarity. What is it? What's the area you want to explore? What are some of the mindsets that might be going on? And then we'll begin to work together and try out. It's very custom, so it's harder for me to give an example. But there's usually multiple weeks, probably about 8 weeks worth of work to begin to help the person just understand how can they try out these new habits with some support and begin to reinforce it because it does take a while to reinforce new habits.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I used to teach, well, I created this class. I have a business mind. I like
Mhm.
creating businesses and kind of the marketing. I'm in the marketing field. And so when I was in LA, Los Angeles, I created these business courses. I had bar and restaurant management courses, and then I had a course called Turn Your Ideas into Cash because that's what I had done. And I had not had formal training. I had just done it because I learned from my other bosses. I learned from the good ones and I learned from the bad ones. And then I did a personal growth workshop called Find Your Excellence. So I was kind of doing coaching too. And I had studied with a couple of other coaches who, I took coaching from them, how to coach people, how to coach other people. And then I've done business coaching or, I worked with a business coach. So I feel like it's really, almost necessary. I don't know, I haven't been in college for a long time, but I don't know if they're teaching these kinds of things in college anymore. But I really feel like business coaches are a very important part of our um, business world now because one bad apple on a staff can just ruin everything. And if you let them fester and you get nowhere and you just have a very unhappy and an unhappy staff is, less productivity and undermining what you're trying to do and your vision. And so I really feel like what you're doing is so important. Who did we talk to last month? We talked to another coach last month. Was it Najma? Or Tatiana Bowers also. She does this similar, but she does it in the medical industry. And
Right.
I just encourage it so much because a lot of executives don't know that they need coaching. They're kind of lost themselves. And that's when I really struggle is when I have to work for someone that I don't respect. Um, I might like them, but I don't, their guidance. And then if I try to take over, the leadership because I feel like somebody needs to, then they get offended or whatever. So I work best when I work with some leadership that I really respect and I feel like they're
Mhm.
um, capable and knowledgeable and that they can guide and lead. And then I'm good at letting go. I'm fine with not being in the leadership position because I've found that some people are not good at adjusting. Like if they've been in a leadership position for a long time, they can't adjust and let go and let someone else take the lead. I think that comes from
Mhm.
my theater background. It's such a collaboration that everybody has to
Mhm.
just let go and um, give
Yeah.
your best in your area and trust that everybody else is. So
Yeah, it sounds like you have a really interesting background, Kelly, and almost that you'd like to nominate some people to get some coaching, which I think we've all felt that way sometimes.
I need to get some
Doesn't
phone
always work
numbers
that
for
way.
you. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, and I
Uh,
came from the restaurant industry. That's what I was telling Tatiana. I'm like, please contact people in the restaurant industry because, a lot of times somebody's put in a position of leadership because they're good with numbers. They're good with business. But that's not really the right position for them. They should not be in the position of leadership. They should be, maybe some other position. And it's not their fault. If somebody hires you and puts you in that position, you're going to try to do your best, but you don't know what you don't know.
exactly. That's
I
that's
I
really,
have
yeah,
oh
that's
no,
really
I was going to
true.
say I have a question in that uh how can I put it? In many corporate positions and in licensed positions, like I was in the insurance field for years, we would have to take continuing ed type classes. Is there something for what you do where you have to, because over time things change and you have to be up on those changes? Or a different way to deal with people in a corporate environment, whatever it might be. Do you have to go through, or do you choose to go through any of these trainings to keep up on things?
Yeah, absolutely. So Berkeley is hosts an annual conference, so we always have the opportunity to refresh our skills every January, February. Um, it's a pretty deep dive and always take away inspiration and practical tools. And then my partnership with the Positive Intelligence has a lot of opportunities to practice and, to use the new skills that they equip us with to use the program. And there are other standards out in the coaching industry, like the ICF, which is a formal certification for coaching. So for myself as well, I use a lot of the lens of my business experience, which is pretty impactful. So not that I impose that on anyone, but I think I have that as well. But I'm also constantly learning from the people that I work with because every individual is different. And so there can be my thoughts about maybe we'll all start, but along the way, what will work for one person may not be effective with another. So there's constantly learning, networking, researching, and finding new tools that apply. So it's like kind of the bigger picture learning, and then there's the every engagement, which is always a little unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's
Well,
that's the reason I'm doing this is because I do believe in learning and growing. And that's part of my, the joy of the second career is I can choose how to do that in a way that I really love. And, in my bigger career, in the corporate role, I had about maybe 5% of my role was doing this. And now it's my full plate, which is why I'm doing it.
and you're helping people. It must be rewarding to
Right.
see people grow. And it's just, it's so miserable to have to go to work and either feel like you're overwhelmed and over your head, or that other people are around you and they're causing chaos. And it's just so unpleasant to have an environment like that. And when everybody's working harmoniously and everybody has their role and knows their role and is contributing, and it's just like magic. It's just so much more fun. Um, I tend to gravitate. I don't stick around usually. I've had to a couple times, but I don't stick around long if I'm not happy, if I'm not in a happy environment. Because for me, I put everything I have into my work. Long hours, I give everything I can. And if I'm miserable, that's such a large part of my life. I don't want to live that way. And so that's another reason that I feel like this kind of coaching is so important, even for teams. Do you ever do like a whole team of people, or does it just start with the executive and then from there, um,
Well, yeah. Well, you said a lot there. So let me just acknowledge that, yes, this working environment is really can bring out either the
Hmm.
best or the worst in us. And I think right now, most of the leaders that I work with really care about their teams and they want to help their teams, be successful. And not just because they're hardcore drivers, because they do care about the well-being. They don't want their teams to get burned out,
yeah.
but they may not know how, and they may not even realize that they're doing some things that are contributing unconsciously. Um, and I work when we say executives, I work with mid-level leaders a lot, and that's probably one of the hardest jobs in the company, which is, you know, all of the accountability and more limited in terms of influencing and resources. Not that it's doesn't have its place and influence and a lot of power, but it's the hardest to me, the hardest role. It's the hardest role I was in. So those are the leaders of the future too. And so I really find a lot of, my own reward in being able to help because I don't have the operational responsibility now, but I can see and recognize what it is and I can relate. Um, and those are the people that will be executives in the future. So that's really the future of our leadership. And also, yeah, so even before that, people that are graduating from college and getting their first entry level roles, I've done a lot of
That's what
mentoring there.
I was gonna ask that next. What is the age that they come to you? Is it right out of college? The right away they know they need somebody to guide them or put them on the right path, or is it people in their 30s who are maybe disillusioned with the path they chose and now they're looking for a new path, or people in their 40s and 50s who are I should be two or three steps above where I am right now. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Is it that entire range of people?
Well, I love to work with, I really love people. That's why I ended up in the business that I'm in. So I always saw that people were what makes the business successful. And so I work with all types of people. But more specifically, one of the programs that I'm working with now is for mid-level managers. So I can't really give you an age range on that, but it's more of a position. It's
Right.
probably manager, senior manager, director when I say mid-level. Um, I feel uniquely inspired to help that group. And I have a pretty special program for that group that a partner and I co-developed. That's a cohort. It's an 8-week cohort where they can work together and kind of share learning in an experience. It's not really like going into a conference room and getting trained, so to speak. Um, we're able to support each other and learning and growing. So that's really one of my passion areas is that group. Um, I also do work with teams and a lot of work on culture in terms of leaders' role in culture. But you know, those are the types of populations I work with. The college students that are coming out into the workforce, I partnered with. I did a lot of pro bono work there, so that's where they're just looking at how do I get my first strong job. A lot of first generation college graduates that may not have mentors in their family who've been through, getting a degree. They've had a different sudden life start in life. And I also found that really rewarding. So that's a pro bono area for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, I did it at the time I started to partner with Braven. I haven't volunteered for about a year, but I love that program because Braven is partners with some UCs and also some state schools. And they really are around, helping people just have the same advantages and opportunities. Really strong mentoring programs. I really love all the students I partnered with that I was mentored, and a lot of them, and I still keep in touch today. They're so bright and they are the future. So I have always really enjoyed that. And my kids are about that age. So the reason I started working with them is I wanted to get a little closer to what that generation is really talking about because my own kids were not always going to talk to me about that. I wanted to understand it from their peer group.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find a difference in working with the younger generation than the older generation?
Oh, well, I mean, the younger generation, the newer grads, they don't give themselves enough credit for being as resourceful as they are, but they have no fear. I really love that about them. Like they'll tackle projects and they don't know what they don't know in a good way because they'll run things down, they'll put together proposals, they just can see the world in a different way. They're effortlessly able to understand how to use social media and different technologies where I think some of us take a little more time to adopt that.
Yeah.
Just really, really positive about their mindset and their optimism as well. And they're so humble. And it's very endearing to see that all as one package. And that's my experience with the newer college grads. So what they don't always have is, how do you communicate in a business setting and how do you put yourself out there in a business world and create a resume or have an interview? And how do you talk about yourself if maybe you have been working to support yourself in college and your grades aren't that great, but you were supporting yourself? And, what does that say about me as a character? How can I tell that story in
Yeah.
a way that translates into real life experience and the character that they bring? So that's what I see. But I have always worked with great people at all levels. And I think I just see a different level of fearlessness, I think, in the newer grads.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. I like hearing that. I haven't worked with that many younger people, that often in leadership positions. But I'm just used to kind of the hierarchy kind of structure. And so I always feel like I never want to make my staff feel like I'm their boss. And sometimes I feel like maybe that's a little bit of a mistake because they are looking to me for leadership. But I always feel like I don't like being bossy. And I can
Mhm.
be. I can be very bossy. I
Mhm.
can get things done. I can just say, let's do this. I got a plan and you do this and do this. But, not
Mhm.
everybody responds well to that. I come from that background. If you're my boss and you need something done, you tell me and I'm not going to, question you. I might have a couple questions, but I'll get it done. And now I feel like the younger generation, well, I've always tried to explain things anyway because I feel like people are more cooperative. When you explain the plan and the goal and this is why, then they're going to be more cooperative. Because I've found some of the younger generation, if it doesn't make sense to them, they're like, we don't need to do that.
That's
They
right.
don't really
You won't
understand
even,
why
you may
behind
not even get that
That's,
answer. They may
you
just
know,
start
I
acting.
was
Yeah.
going to bring up something that I sort of have a problem with, but it's not the future anymore. It is the present. Uh, the use of AI. in everything that they do now. I sort of I was just watching something the other day. I really don't know what it was on, but the number of students, college students who are not, or high school students who are not doing their term papers, but putting all the footnote information and the details of what they need to do into ChatGPT or whatever other services are out there. And the teachers, apparently, there is something that they have that tells them in their computer if the whatever the document was, if it was AI generated. And of course, they're firing these kids. The downside also on this what I was watching is that the teachers are using AI to teach the kids. So I could sort of understand the teachers use something to teach the kids, assuming AI gives all the correct information. It is wrong that the kids, and I don't want it to make it sound like, oh well, I had to do it the hard way, but I had to go down to the local library and take out these monster books or sit there with these monster research books and hope that another kid from my class wasn't also in the library and took the book out first because they only had one that would give me those answers. And so
Yeah.
that's how we had to do it.
Yeah.
We had to
Yeah.
actually do the research. And has AI infiltrated in any way what you do? I mean, I can understand if you use it to help your people, but I don't think it's good if they use it to answer your questions.
Hmm. Oh, this is a whole other topic. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're bringing this up, John. I hadn't heard that about the school environment. My, my view of AI is that it's a disruptor, and anytime there's been any tech disruptor, it's always been followed by some pretty big wave of human innovation that follows. So we haven't seen that yet, but we're about to, because that's what the trend has been before.
Mm.
So meaning that people that are taking shortcuts will be shortcutting themselves because we still need to be able to be innovative as teams. Kelly was talking about that, what it's like to be on a team where you can help each other and solve problems and work together. I mean, that we still have to be able to use our brains and we can't take shortcuts. So when it comes to coaching, there's been a big wave of change in terms of AI coming into coaching and learning. And it needs to be used responsibly with some values. We have to have character and everything that we do as coaches and as humans and as leaders. Um, it can be really helpful to take notes and hand them into what are the key takeaways. It can be really helpful with interviews if I'm having interviews and trying to develop what are the themes of the culture that I'm hearing from the people I'm talking to. Things that used to take hours can be synthesized. But it cannot put wisdom in where there isn't any wisdom. So um, I would not ever want to go in and have AI tell me how to engage with anyone because it's only going to give me an outline. And if I'm not able to bring my own thought partnership into that conversation with a person, I'm not doing them any service. So that's my own view on AI in terms of coaching. There are a lot of their companies now that actually have AI prompts for coaching, and I don't use it myself because I'm believe in the human connection where you can look at somebody's body language and kind of understand if you need to ask another question or
Mm-hmm.
how they're doing. But there are companies that are offering that because they feel like it's a solution that can reach more people, because they can't afford to have coaches for all their team. But in a lot of ways, I mean, but I still believe in the human advantage
Right.
of
Yeah.
one-on-one coaching.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Well, I feel like I really feel like we've already in the last several decades lost our critical thinking skills. Like really,
Mm,
we've become very intellectually lazy. And I feel like AI, I'm afraid I use it in my work, and a lot of it's just create an image for marketing ads and stuff. So
Hmm.
that's really not going to hurt me. But I try not to use it too much. When I do use it, say to write an article or a caption or something, I reread it and really try to hone it in so that it represents our company's voice. Or if it's for me, for my voice, because I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner, and
Hmm.
it makes me feel alive. And I feel like so many people have just lost that part of life. They've just become, TV veggies that sit on the couch and watch TV all the time. And you're being fed information instead of looking for it. And I always like the
And
quote.
you're right. They're being fed, but unlike food, it's not being
It's not
absorbed.
nourishing, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
it's
going
not
in
really
there.
informative. It's just garbage.
Yeah.
And people aren't seeking. Like I discovered this podcast the other day and I can't remember what it was. I might have sent you a link to it. I can't remember what it was. But I was like, oh, after I finished it, it was like an hour long, and I finished it and I was like, oh, I just feel like I'm full. I just feel like I got fed a bunch of really good intellectual information that I didn't know about. I think it was about the legal industry, which I don't know a lot about law. And I just felt full. I felt like satisfied, fulfilled after I watched it. And I thought, I don't think people understand and I had to rewind it a couple times. Like, wait, what did they say? I don't understand that. Like, you're trying to learn what I'm not just listening. I'm trying to learn something. I'm trying to be a
Right.
better person and understand something more about the world or other people. And I think a lot of people are lazy about doing that. I say intellectually lazy because they're not lazy people, but they don't want to, because it takes energy to learn new things. But I'm constantly looking for what's new. What can I do now? I'm always, that's why I've done so many things in my life because I'm always feeling like I'm going to miss out on something. So I want to do that too. Like I want to do every job. I work at a bank and I'm like, I want to do every job in the bank. I have my job, but I'm like, oh, I want to do that too. That sounds like a lot of fun. All the finance stuff and everything. So I just feel like, I don't know if it's just a personality thing and some people just don't have that kind of passion or fire in them. But I feel like learning is just a nourishment of your soul, right? I mean, I wish we could find a way to spark that
I
in
think
everyone.
that comes from where we grew up or at the time we grew up. I don't know if the now generation, the 18 to 22s are, I want to be nourished. I think more they want to experience without getting the nourishment first. I don't know that for
Yeah.
Well, what
sure.
I like about what you said, Kelly, is that you're making an intentional choice for what you is important to you and you know how you feel afterwards when you've gotten that. You feel good, you feel satisfied, you feel full, you said.
Yeah.
And so I think the more we can all, whatever age we are, give ourselves the choice, what we're consuming and why,
Yeah.
and be intentional about it. There's just otherwise so much out there. We could easily just start taking in a lot of, like you said, junk. So we have to give ourselves the choice and, you know, step away from sometimes what's out there on the mainstream. Just
Mhm.
make sure we're making a choice for us.
Well, that's
And also just realize how do we feel afterwards, you know?
Yep.
If I've
So,
spent too much time on my phone, I always feel, I don't feel
yeah,
good. If I
absolutely.
listen to a great podcast or I've learned something, I feel really good.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what do
that's
you
what we try with this podcast. John and I talk about it. Like we want our audience to get something, like just something
something
they've
out of
never
it?
heard before,
Right.
something new, a tidbit of information that helps them change their life.
You know, it's funny you say that. Not that I want to deviate from this, but just so you know, we put up a post a week or two ago, I guess 2 weeks ago, from the woman who was involved in that Legal Shield company,
Mhm.
that offered
Right.
legal services on a monthly with a monthly deduction or
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that. And I got two emails from friends going, I watched that and I'm going to
Yep.
use that. It works for me. People, I guess, who need to do wills and things like that. So it matters to me that, even just a couple of people, if they get something out of it, That's great, and that's why
Perfect if it
she's right. That's why
inspires
we do
them.
this.
Yeah.
Also, um, Gina, what do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about or that you want to promote? We'd like to hear that.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to tell you. So in January, I will be co-sponsoring with my business partner, Karen White, a cohort of leaders, mid-level leaders. And it's an 8-week program, but it's an hour and a half every week. And it's an opportunity to, again, not be in a classroom setting with a bunch of PowerPoints with the do's and don'ts of management and leadership. But it's a really unique opportunity
Will it
to,
be on Zoom or you have
it'll
to
be
be?
on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
we
So if
find,
people are interested in this, Kelly will make sure your website and everything and the
Yeah.
phone number and all
Yeah,
that.
we'll
yeah,
provide all the information so they can find it.
And so if people want to
it
do that, so obviously we will make sure that this goes up before January.
What's the
Uh,
date in January?
January 13th is the first date.
Okay.
And the we get a lot of great feedback from the
is there a
program because it's a
deadline for signing
networking.
up? Is there a deadline for signing
I
up?
would say, probably January 8th would be the deadline, but I'll
Okay,
wait till then because I think it's always good to check in and
sure.
learn more. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to meet you if you're interested at all. And give yourself a little time to make sure it's the right fit. But we find people come directly and they usually will get tuition reimbursement from their company, which if it's the right fit, we can usually help
Right.
them with how to get the company reimbursement.
Nice. Nice. And so do you do these several times a year or do you
We
just
do. We take the summer off because it's a tough time for everybody. People are traveling, they're with their family. It's just not a good time. But if you're looking at, yeah, we look at a fall, spring, and winter. So we have 3 quarters of the
nice.
year that we're active. And it's a great way to meet other people that are also leaders that are
Mhm.
trying to be their best, that want to try new habits. It's not a place where you have to perform. You don't have to be graded. You can take in what's really important to you. You can talk confidentially and openly. You can get the benefit of also having a one-on-one with a coach. We do those twice during the cohort, and you get really cool access to positive intelligence, which people have found to be pretty transformational in terms of not only their work, but also their relationships.
Nice.
So I love it. And it's not just me that loves it. We have such great feedback. It's just kind of
Good.
a
Yay.
keeps, yeah, it's been a real amazing experience in my second career to be able to work with the peer cohort.
So do you find the executive coaching helps people in their personal relationships? I think you just said something about, because sometimes just one, if you're thinking something through this lens, and then somebody says, "Oh, no, no, look at it this way," and you broaden your lens, think your whole dynamic with other people, maybe your personal, the people in your personal life can change
Mhm.
too.
Absolutely. I think I shared earlier that my own experience was that I realized how much of my listening was to anticipate what the problem was that the other person had. So that happened to my that was happening in my conversations with my kids, with my husband, with my coworkers, with my team, with my friends. And I realized once I saw that, I could not unsee it, how much I was becoming a kind of a know-it-all. So, it was embarrassing and it was a kind of a big ego hit, to be honest, because I thought, oh, I really care. I really listen to the people around me. But the filter that was going on was constantly, what do they need? How can I help them? What needs to be solved? So that's just one example, but everybody finds something that they decide they want to change about themselves that can help them have different experiences with others. It usually starts with work, but it goes well beyond that. And it's really our overused strengths. It's my caring about the person and my ability to listen was just going in a direction that wasn't helpful any longer and just needed to be redirected. And that's just one example that relates to me. But we have more than one tool and more than one strength. I think sometimes we just need to remember to use something else, instead of just always using the hammer.
Well, and your own self-awareness can help you explain to other people, hey, I'm kind of controlling about this area, so I might be a little domineering with you in this area. So please understand I'm working on it, and you can help me work
Hmm.
on it if you kindly remind me when I start getting
Hmm.
too dominating or whatever, let me know. Or, in any kind of when you're living with people, I mean, everybody has different styles. Some people are messier than others. And so
Mhm.
if you're a neat freak, it's hard to live with someone who's messy. But if you
Yeah,
can, and
it all comes out in
yeah,
the
acknowledge
biggest
it in
field
the
of
beginning.
practice is and usually in our personal relationships, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Or just get on a car with everybody and go cross country for some kind of vacation, learn everybody's strengths and
Yeah.
habits really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I wish for our future as we move forward that we do more of this. And maybe the AI will free us up to spend more time on ourselves and our self-awareness and learning, how to live with each other better or more of the arts, experiencing creativity and inventing things and problem solving. And so maybe AI won't be that bad. I know some people are scared of it and some people I like the robotics part of it. I like that, you can have things to do, clean your house, um, and
Oh,
clean
you
your
mean the
floor.
coming technology that we
Yeah.
might see, like
Yeah.
the self-driving cars going into,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't know if technology has ever freed our time. I think it has redirected our time. So I think we'll
Yeah.
have to still be conscious, just like you are, about like how you choose to spend your time learning
Right.
and growing and what you take in. It's like we're going to have to still really be conscious of choices we make. But
Yeah.
I find it really interesting too. I'm not afraid of it. I'm interested. And I'm also like you, a little concerned about the choices we'll make, in
Yeah.
the shortcuts. But I hope that for the greater sake, we all will take the good from it and also realize that we're only have one gift to give as humans, and that's just our own brain and our own skill
Yeah.
set. And we can't completely delegate that to AI.
Right.
Well, as long as we are still using our mind in some way, it doesn't necessarily have to be for work, but I think the danger of becoming just so intellectually lazy and unable to use critical thinking skills, then we become very easy to manipulate.
But you
And
have to be taught critical thinking skills. It
yeah,
it doesn't come naturally. And
yeah,
that has to come at an early age. And I'm not saying
Hmm.
6 or 7. I'm saying in your from your teens into your
yeah,
20s. These are the most important years for learning that.
yeah,
My opinion.
yeah.
I am
No, I
not
think
in
so too.
your okay.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of probably research that backs up what you said. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And we don't have it naturally because our natural impulse is to play it safe and kind of live as children
Right.
do. We're dependent on our parents and we take their authority. So
Yeah.
we have to be able to question that. And that happens in our teen years. And if we don't develop that, how do we develop it later in life? Yeah.
I question that because I was the most obedient, nerdy, well-behaved child. I did everything I was told. And I still am an obedient person. If authority tells me to do something, I'm like, okay. But as once I got on my own, I really developed critical thinking. I started going, well, wait, why? I started asking the whys. So I think the most important thing we can teach young people is just ask the why. And like I said
Hmm.
earlier, people are more cooperative when they understand why they're doing something. And so teaching them to ask why do we have to do it this way? Or what,
Hmm.
why does this person do it this way and we do it, our family does it this way? Like and so just teach them to ask why because
Yeah,
I
but okay, but we got to go beyond that. Okay, so we teach them to ask why.
okay.
Well, suppose the answer that they're given is not correct.
Right, right,
What if oh well, I asked why and they gave me some bullshit answer and
right.
okay, I'm good with that. That's wrong.
But ask
So,
why of multiple sources.
but yeah, they have to then be able to determine is the response right, wrong, good, bad. Uh,
Yeah, there could be a whole class taught in school of situations where they role play and
maybe,
situations
maybe
where,
that's something that should be a class, critical thinking.
yeah,
You
totally.
know, that would be a great class in schools if schools
Okay.
were
So we
being
have
Yeah,
another
what you're
career for you, Gina.
there you go, there you
Tremendous
go.
what you're
critical thinking
saying is it
class.
actually reminds me of the root cause analysis is actually asking why 7 times to be able to understand. Because what happens is you have a thesis, why? You ask the question every time you ask why underneath, there's a deeper reason.
Yep.
So sometimes I'll use that with clients. You can ask people, why is that important to you? If you ask 7 times, maybe it could be, why is learning important to you? And you'd have an answer. Why is that important? Because it gives you a feeling of growth and you like the way it feels. Why is that feeling important to you? Asking 7 whys helps us understand our greater purpose. So it also helps with understanding. It's a great way for critical thinking everywhere. So you're onto something there.
Yeah, I like this
Well, you
conversation.
could
Yeah,
throw you could
it's
throw
all
us
root cause analysis.
you could throw us 25% if you wind up having if you wind up doing courses on critical thinking because of this conversation. We don't mind.
If
We
I
Or
if
don't
you
invite
mind.
us as
inspire a
guests.
new,
We'll be your guest speakers.
it sounds like you should be my co-facilitators.
There you go.
Or that.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Well,
I would love that. I love teaching. I love, watching people grow and I just stretching the mind. I really try to do that with
here's
myself.
a good question because this came to me, but I don't want to throw out mine yet.
Mm.
What was a question that you asked your parents or one of your parents? Why is this? And maybe they didn't have the answer. What was it? Or maybe they did have the answer. Almost like why is the sky blue? But
Mhm.
what was it as a child that you asked why? And what was the
Mhm.
answer that you got? I remember mine.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was
What?
hoping you'd tell us yours first,
I
Kelly.
don't have one.
Okay.
Like I said, I
Okay.
was just so obedient.
I was about 14 years old, 13, 14, I guess 14 or so. And we were driving across the country, specifically on Route 70, and got to Colorado and wound up, and it was July. I remember because it was my dad's vacation at that time. And we were up in the Rocky Mountains, and it was July. And there was snow on top of the mountains. And I was like, well, and of course, we pulled over so he could take a picture of me in the snow in July.
Mm.
Um, and my question was, but we're even closer to the sun. Why is there snow on this mountain?
Right. Good
And
question.
he did not know the reason why. Of course, I later found out that it had to do with, the sun and the center of the earth, the radiation from the earth coming up is what causes the temperature at sea level and above that. But I didn't know, and he didn't know, and it caused both of us. I don't know, probably when we got back to New Jersey to look it up and
Yeah.
find out the answer. And I remember that as a kid, like I asked my dad a question that he didn't know the answer to, because usually your parents sort of know all and see all. So,
That was a
and I
very logical question, though, for a little kid to ask. And
yeah.
sometimes kids are more logical than we are, because they see the route, they see what's in front of them, and we're got all these lenses and filters.
So there
Um,
you go.
do you have one, Gina, that
That's
you
a
can think
I
slice
of?
of my
don't, but
life.
I was thinking about what you said, John, that was when you realized that your dad didn't have all the answers, but that it was okay to ask a question, that you'd have
Yeah.
some fun with finding it out. I do remember when my son started asking me questions that I didn't know the answers to, and it was like he was about 8 or 9, and I would be driving to work, and I would take him to school on the way, and he would ask me so many questions, like why can we still see the moon now that it's daytime, or why do ants walk in a line? I mean, he would just come up with so many questions, and I didn't know any of the answers. I mean, this I was like, this kid is very curious. So we did a lot of looking things up, and also I just had to kind of fess up, like, I don't know, but I think that's a great question. and it just can encourage his ability to explore. Unfortunately, on the way to school, we didn't always have the time to do it, but later in the day, we could get into it.
Yeah, I think that's a good teaching moment. If you don't have the answer, teach them how to
Absolutely.
have
It's
the answer.
humbling.
Well,
Somebody will have it.
the downside now is that you're driving in your car, your kid asks a question, and you then say to your car, Alexa, why do ants walk in a straight
There
line?
you go.
And you know, your car will tell you,
Yeah.
sadly, instead of us researching it ourselves. And
Yeah.
so, which was a lot of fun for me and him at that time.
I just thought
Definitely.
Mhm.
of when I was a very curious kid too. I probably asked a lot of questions in class in school when I asked my mom questions, but I can't remember any. But what I do remember is staying after class in Bible school. And I would all the kids, Bible school is just something kind of your parents drop you off and you have to go, and most kids aren't even paying attention. But I was really paying attention because I like a lot of it I didn't understand because of a lot of it's just, kind of magic. And so I would stay after and ask questions. I would always ask a lot of questions, and my bless her heart, I remember my Bible school teacher, Miss Wolf, she would always give me good answers. And I feel like they were logical, more logical than some of what religion teaches today because it's changed. But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
do remember asking questions and one because I wanted to understand it and I wanted to be good. Um,
Right.
so anyway, yeah, that was a
Oh,
very curious time for me. And in
oh,
school, um, you know, so yeah, I think it's good to encourage kids to ask questions. And if you don't have the answer, teach them how to keep asking. It goes
Mhm.
and find the answer,
well,
you
yeah, how to
know,
Mhm.
research.
and to find the answer. If not, if you get it, if you ask the question why, and the answer either is not forthcoming or you don't buy the answer. If you have questions about the answer, do the work.
Yeah.
Do
Mhm.
Learn how to research and where
spend
to find
10
answers.
minutes doing some
Yeah.
research.
Because
And
when you
Make
were a
sure
kid,
your
John, you were
source
told
is
to go to the
credible.
library.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure your source is credible
Yeah,
because the
well, I'll just
same
before
sen
we end
uh-huh.
this, I'll tell you, I asked, I responded to a question in catechism class, and it got me kicked out of school. So
No.
we won't go
You were
into
that
that.
kid.
Oh no.
I was that kid.
There's always one in the group.
I was it.
Well,
I
looks
was
like you
that
turned
kid.
out okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely
I
did.
think so.
I definitely
Yeah, and
did.
even those kids though, because I remember in school, some of the kids that they weren't vocal or they weren't, they were the class clown or whatever, or the nerd sitting in the corner or whatever. And you're surprised when they grow up how they blossom. It's something they become something very different than you would have thought they would have been.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it's awesome just to nurture kids and let them be who they are when they're young and let them explore and be curious and ask all the dumbest questions that they can think of. Because no question's ever a dumb question. Um, so yeah. Well,
Yeah,
anyway, we
we're
kind of got
all
off on a little different tangent, Gina, but I do think there's
Mhm.
something here for you to do.
Around root cause and critical thinking.
There you
Well,
go.
it does come down to thinking. It does come down to choice and what's important to us. And so I think you highlighted that earlier, Kelly, about your own love of learning and why. And,
Right.
we all, that's, kind of going back into coaching, it helps us understand our own answers to what's really important and what's going on. And
Yeah.
that's really, you know, I think why you invited me here to talk about what is coaching. So thank
Yes.
you for that. Thanks for the
That's why
conversation.
when we found out about you, I knew that once Kelly started talking to you, because she loves this stuff.
I
She just loves
do. I
coach
do.
people who do coaching and things like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I knew she'd enjoy it. I was
Yeah.
just going to
It's
be
about you're
a
a teacher.
bystander.
She's teaching,
Mhm.
and it's of such great value. There's nothing more important than being a parent or a teacher, I think, like you're creating the future for the
I'm
world.
a teacher and a learner.
Right?
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely learning from the people that I work with just as much as I am teaching. And I think what they do is they teach themselves. We all need to trust ourselves more.
Right.
And, we can't look outside of ourselves to trust. We need to understand who we are and what we're really made of and what's really important to us. So I
Yeah.
think that's the benefit of doing the work. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Everybody should be a teacher and a learner. I love
Mhm.
that. Thank you for that, Gina. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you both.
Well,
Yeah.
It
it's
was really a
our
pleasure to
pleasure,
meet you.
Yeah.
and we hope after or while you're doing this next seminar or class
Cohort.
that cohort that you're going to be doing, uh, let's do this again so we can
Yeah.
get an update on how
Yeah.
things
Oh,
are
yeah,
going. Yeah, we
will
always
do.
like to do things like that.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well,
please,
enjoyed your
just
stories and enjoyed talking with you both. I'd be happy to come back.
thank
Yeah.
you,
Thanks.
thank you,
Anything else you want to
and
say?
look up.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and look up why there's snow on top of the Rocky Mountains in the
I
middle
will
of
Yeah.
July.
take that as an action item.
Inquiring minds want to
Yeah,
know.
as an action item. Yeah, that's great.
Do
Okay.
you have any little tidbits of information to share with anyone before we say goodbye?
Tidbits of information. What would you like
Like in
in
general,
terms
something
of?
in general, like a good way to look at if you're struggling. I guess I answered my question myself. Go find a coach. Find a good coach. Seriously,
Well,
right? If you're
sometimes it's
struggling,
helpful, absolutely, to find somebody it could be a sounding board that you trust, that can be a place to explore your thoughts and help you understand what's really important to you and where to go forward. And, we all deserve inspiration these days. How do we go forward? That's inspiration. And then, um, how do we know what's important to us? Usually we have to give ourselves the space to do that. Um, and we have to slow down enough to really hear the answers. Sometimes that can be the hard part. So if we're willing to carve out a little bit of time, to do some work with the coach or even with ourselves, it's really possible to do that. So, and if
okay.
you are a leader of people and you haven't had the opportunity to quiet the outside voices, and all the demands coming your way, and really understand what's important to you and the type of leader you want to be, it really, you deserve the time and space. I wish I had done this earlier in my career as a leader, because we're giving so much to others and to the business. We need to be able to understand what energizes us too.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's a lonely place to be when you're leading everyone else because everybody's always concerned about what they want. And nobody really cares. 'Cause I remember feeling that way at one job. I was like, I am just taking care of everyone all the time, and nobody even ever asked me what kind of day I'm having. And I'm like, I'm a
it can
human
be
too.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
can be.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you. We'll put all your information
Absolutely.
on the video. We'll put your website and then in the description below and let people find you. And hopefully you'll come.
I look forward to meeting anybody and anyone. I really enjoyed networking.
Absolutely.
So no, yeah, please reach out.
Awesome.
Thank you
What you have
so,
to say
so
was,
much, both of
oh,
you.
it
Okay.
was
Thank
our
you, Gina.
pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All views expressed in this video belong to Kelly Nicholson, John D'Amore, and guests. These discussions do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever with which they have been affiliated now or will be in the future. The opinions expressed are solely theirs, and since they are critically thinking human beings, these views are subject to change, subject to revision, and subject to rethinking at any time. These conversations are not meant to be taken as advice and are only for the purpose of entertainment. All statements may be based on hearsay and not necessarily valid proof of any claims in this video. It is not our intention to teach or advise on any topic. Unless otherwise noted, all photos are public domain. Thanks for watching A Slice of Life with Kelly and John.